Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast. This is your host, David McCaig Jr. The Game Sports Podcast is powered by 91 Network and also featured on Spaces, which is through Soo Today and Village Media. Head on over to 91 Network. It's a YouTube channel that you can check us out on. All video content of the game is on there. You can also check out our audio recordings on all areas of where you get your podcast. It could be Spotify, Apple, wherever, whatever platform you tune into, we are there. And for Spaces, which is through, again, Village Media and Soo Today, it's an interactive platform where you can check out sports, hockey, food, music, whatever space that you want to be a part of, you can join. It started here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. It has now grown outside of Sault Ste. Marie. So if you haven't checked out Spaces, get on there and be a part of the interaction, in particular with us here on the game. And we have an action-packed episode here of the Game Sports Podcast tonight. Now, look, for two segments, you're going to have yours truly just alone, which is the first segment that you're tuning into right now and the last segment that you're going to have for me. But in the middle, there's some good little mixture in there for you to enjoy. But let me tell you what we're going to be talking right off the hop here, and I'll share what's coming up on this episode here. At the start, we are starting with a bang. Yes, that is with the Four Nations Faceoff, as that just concluded yesterday, the date of this recording, February 21st, for this segment anyways, February 21st. So yesterday, February the 20th, was the finals for Four Nations Faceoff between Canada and the U.S., and I am going to get into everything about that game and overall about the Four Nations Faceoff. Then in the second segment, I will be joined by Jordan Trudeau with our Chuck a Puck segment, where we're going to be talking Ontario Hockey League, but of course, in its majority for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. In the third segment, I'll be joined by Connor Henderson and maybe a surprise co-host joining both Connor and I. But we're going to be doing Strike Zone, where we're going to get into the automated strike zone, challenges in the strike zone, all that automation that's being discussed in the world of baseball. And of course, Vladimir Guerrero drama. It is going to be a joy to get into that. I might have to have a little vent sesh. Now, in the final segment, it is going to be our In the Pocket segment, the finale of In the Pocket. And you're going to notice it's going to be a little bit shorter than usual and obviously a few bodies short, as due to the flu, Justin Heichel couldn't join here tonight. And obviously, as we get to the finals, EJ couldn't join us for our last episode as well. I should make sure to include that. So you are just going to have yours truly for the last episode of season 8 for In the Pocket, but I'll make sure that we have the content that you normally enjoy of In the Pocket. But there's so little time to get into this. We have a lot of time allocated for the next two segments because that's what we do when we have co-hosts and more. Definitely have more time for that, but I want to make sure I get as much as I can here in the beginning for you to be able to not only have interaction with me, but to hear my feedback about the Four Nations Faceoff. So I'm going to dive right into that off the hop. And if I am sounding a little bit more excited, well, you know what? I am going to say it. I will announce it more on the show now. That obviously, if you haven't known, if you don't know me personally, and if you haven't heard some other episodes, as we did have some hints and it was put out there that my wife and I are expecting our first child. And we learned yesterday, right before the Canada game, that it's actually a baby boy that is going to be joining our family here. So it also makes sense that we have the blue jerseys around. And of course, Mitch Marner is going to be getting some love on this show. Perhaps, finally some Leafs fans giving some love to Mitch Marner. But you know what? Very excited because it was such a big moment in hockey yesterday. 9.3 million viewers tuned in on ESPN for that. Hockey is growing, and that did wonders for United States, in my opinion. Now, obviously, I'm diving right into the first topic, diving into the Four Nations Faceoff. Look, I'll talk about the game in a moment. I just want to talk about the tournament in its entirety. Bravo. If you can hear me clapping, you're seeing me clapping, bowing, whatever you want me to do. I loved this idea from when it started, and seeing this tournament was the best thing I've seen hockey in a long time. Okay, obviously the Stanley Cup playoffs are a joy to watch, and if you have a favorite team that wins the cup, that's also a big moment for you. But watching the Four Nations, watching the game's best go at each other, and obviously, yeah, there's some countries missing, some players missing from this tournament, but these were four nations that had just an absolute load amount of talent. And it was so exciting from start to finish, from game one until the last goal that Connor McDavid scored to seal the tournament. But this tournament was fantastic, and the NHL deserves all the props, all the thumbs up, all the kudos. This is fantastic. And before this tournament even started, the NHL announced that you're going to have the Olympics next year, of course, where the NHL athletes are going to be returning. But 2 years after that, you're going to have the World Cup. 2 years after that, you have the Olympics. 2 years after that, the World Cup. We are getting back to that international stage that we are used to seeing in the world of hockey outside of the World Juniors, under 18s, whatever, the Spangler, all the international games that we see in the tournament, the ones that we are really focused on, of course, the Olympics, and getting the World Cup back was amazing. And this tournament wasn't an all-star game feel. It wasn't a vacation type feel. These players were going balls to the wall, crushing each other, absolutely just not caring about their bodies, blocking shots, goalies absolutely making unorthodox saves such as Bennington in the final, stretching out, really doing everything and laying it on the line for their country. It was amazing to see this tournament. And the NHL deserves props for what they did and organizing this tournament to get us that taste of international hockey. Finally get to see some of the U.S. guys play together, the Swedish guys play together, and also the Finnish guys get on the ice. But ultimately see McKinnon, Crosby, and McDavid on the same team. Can't forget Cale Makar as well. But to see a lot of talent on that team finally play on the international stage is what we've been waiting to see, and we saw it. Now, if you go back to a couple episodes, a couple weeks ago, where we had a recent episode before this one, we talked about predictions in the Four Nations. It was yours truly that said Canada would win that game and win in the finals against the States, and that they deserve the credit because of that because of the offense having the edge, but just having that feeling that Canada's game, this is Canada's game, and I had that feeling. Yeah, I had that feeling more about Crosby maybe getting the golden goal again. But Connor McDavid, I don't care if it was, and Brad Marchand, as a Leaf fan, saying I would have been happy. Anyone who scored that goal, it brought a nation together. And I will not hold back any way of being conceited saying that I called it saying Canada was going to win. But if anyone would have thought that the United States was going to win that tournament, I do not disagree, because that team is very talented, but there was something about that Canadian team. It was something that you just knew, the resilience of Canada, that experience on the team, people that have won on that team, Stanley Cup rings, playing the Stanley Cup finals, big games, winning gold medals before. Look at Doughty, Crosby. Okay, these guys have been playing in international play, and they had such a good kind of round of players that people doubted, saying they had the grinders, you had your two-way guys. This team wasn't put together. It seems a lot like the 2016, the way it was put together. No, this team was very well put together, and the United States was and is extremely talented. And I'm worried. I was worried playing the States as they were worried playing us. The United States looked amazing. That team is very, very talented and absolutely loaded. But Canada, I had the feeling from the start, and I never lost it, and it was so good. And everything that came up after the game, and I'm sorry, I know we have a big amount of United States listeners. I'm going to get to something about that in a moment. And I just want to say that when I say this with love, Justin Trudeau had a post that said, of course, around the lines of our country, you can't take our game. And honestly, this was a game that Canada needed to win with everything that's going on between us, between the Canada, United States, with the tariffs and so on. It was a game that just felt more than hockey. It had that political step it had that feel to it. Heck, that first game on Saturday was absolutely wicked. 3 fights in 9 seconds. Unbelievable hockey. But after Connor McDavid scored that go-ahead goal in that first game, that game kind of just dragged on like a normal hockey game. So before I get too carried away, fun puck drop, Sweden, Canada, Marner winning that in overtime. Exciting game. Sweden stayed in that game. Sweden was so good in this tournament. I like Willie played well. Hedman, Sweden has a very nice roster put together there. I like what they have, even though they're losing to Finland, which helped Canada in the end. When you think about it, it was a very well-balanced tournament. United States and Finland, that was the only game that got a little bit carried away with a 6-1 win for United States. But when you watched Finland beat Sweden, that game could have went either way. Canada, United States. After the Connor McDavid goal, United States took over that game and did play a U.S.-style type game, went up, and they just had a bit more tenacity in that matchup. Canada played Finland, almost blew the lead. I felt like a true Maple Leaf fan there. Thought they were going to blow it. But I remembered that Sidney Crosby and these guys are on this team. It isn't the Toronto Maple Leafs full roster, and Crosby was able to help everyone exhale. Sweden beating the United States, wild. I thought the United States was going to be perfect going all the way to the finals, but Sweden beating the States made it so interesting when it came down to the end of it, and Canada just gets by because of the point system and the tiebreaker with Sweden. So very interesting. But getting to the finals, okay, I will say that this was the most anticipated matchup, I feel, of the year. Everyone's been waiting for this. But before I get into the finals, the booing of the national anthem by Canadians to the United States. Look, I have seen posts. I've looked everywhere on social media, and I've went through and dissected everything and just absorbed what everyone is saying, feedback from friends, feedback from family, my own beliefs in it. Look, I was always a believer that if you're booing the anthem, there is that sign of disrespect. But I think with reading, understanding, and seeing, I got to say, to the United States, a lot of the comments I've seen from people who reside in the United States understand why Canadians are doing it. And I'm going to explain it to you. Is it a delivery that you would expect? No, I know there's a lot of obviously military background when it comes to the national anthem, supporting what led from before to get us to now as countries. But we are not, and I mean we as Canadians, are not booing your country, not booing your anthem in a way of disrespect. We are booing from what is currently going on between, and I'm not going to get into saying full details and names, but what's going on with President Trump and on this side. Okay, that is what the issue is. And Canada has felt belittled given that. And we, as I feel, a very nice nation, and with being border countries, have always had a good relationship. And I think we still do. It's just that at this time, what's going on, it's a very unique time in the world, and Canada is staying its statement for what is going on the sides of political. Okay, I'm not a political talk show. I'm not going to get into it, but just to explain it in very brief short to my American friends, got a lot of friends whom are American, and also to my American viewers and listeners, that we are not booing your country. It isn't a disrespect to your country. I know that we're very pleased to have such a country close to us that we can travel with and be a part of and experience areas of the world. This is booing based on what is currently happening from a political standpoint, based on a lot of Canadian beliefs. And the win with Connor scoring in overtime and what Trudeau posted and what Canadians are posting, I think that should explain why Canada has acted the way they have. And is it respectful in the way that I've been raised in the game? That isn't a sign of respect, but Canada is voicing its displeasure for what's going on from the political standpoint. And it isn't a knock to the United States in terms of disrespect and or pointing to the States saying, "Oh no, we hate your anthem." It's a political view. And I'm not one that always dives into political and follows it as much as I probably should. I'll openly admit that. But that is what that means. And I want to spend a good almost handful of minutes to kind of explain why that is. And overall, my take on it, I understand the take. And as a Canadian, I support what has been happening. It has certainly been quite the adjustment here on our side of the border, and there's been a lot of back and forth that I hope gets resolved. But getting back to the tournament, because like I said, spending 4+ minutes on that is not what I mainly intended. Trying to keep this segment under 20 minutes and try to get to it. The games were fantastic. All right. The energy at the Bell Center was great. Crosby getting chanted. Montreal Canadian fan growing up, obviously a Montreal Canadian fan, and having his name chanted in the Bell Center. He was electric in that first game. Mitch Marner, the winner in overtime. All the games at Bell Center. Good job, Montreal. Well done. Boston, look, you guys did a terrific job as well hosting. I feel like it was the fans were interactive. Obviously, the United States fans were very passionate in that final game, and a lot of Canadians took the trip down to support Team Canada, and that was great to see. The final game, though, I will get to that right now. 3-2 final, Canada over United States. Canada gets the first one, United States tie it, and then, of course, the United States takes the lead, and you can feel the country of Canada just everything tightens up in the Canadians' body. And then Sam Bennett with an absolute snipe, which was assisted by Mitch Marner. That play by Mitch Marner ended up getting Mitch on the top line per se. A lot of good line. The whole lineup was good, but to play with Connor McDavid, a stone went down. Mitch Marner had a very strong game, and that tying goal, it just lit the country back up. And I think everyone on that Canada bench felt not just the Canadian support in that arena, but from the whole country, because we've tied the game. We are back in it. And of course, it's a nail biter all the way to the end. It's tight. And Jordan, MVP, in my opinion, Binnington, was fantastic. I know he had a couple light goals in the United States and in this tournament, a couple goals he probably should have had. Look, the guy showed up when it mattered. Like we've talked about on this show, Canada's goaltending isn't Martin Brodeur, Curtis Joseph, Ed Balfour, Carey Price anymore. Those guys are not there, and we don't know when those guys will come back, but it doesn't matter because Binnington is a Stanley Cup winner. He does well under pressure, and he's a guy that will not lose you a game if you have guys who can put up goals. There were times where Canada's offense was shut out, and Binnington had to step up, and he did. And in this game, he did more than step up. He is the reason why this golden goal by Connor McDavid was able to happen. Big saves on Austin Matthews in overtime. Brady Tkachuk spreading out. Jordan Binnington was locked in. You can see he was focused, and he kept his cool the whole tournament. You had to know that Cooper and management with Canada said, hey, don't get that temper going here. You're our goalie. We need you in net. And Binnington did, when he got bumped, when he got hacked, when he got tripped, let it go. Didn't have any negative comments. He did his own thing, and he represented this country very well. And he got the job done. He played extremely well. Each game had a different player that stepped up. Crosby the first game, Marner getting the winner in overtime. McKinnon, I feel, was really consistent all tournament. McDavid had some ups and downs in the tournament, but he had a very good tournament overall, I feel. I was a fan of how Hagel played this whole tournament. It was great to see what he did. But the best defenseman, and you can pull this aside, but the best defenseman on Canada for the games that he played was Thomas Harley. Thomas Harley was great in those finals. The United States, that team, Slavin, I want you as a defenseman. If I'm coaching a GM, I am calling Carolina. What do you need? What do you want? How do you want it? I don't care. Slavin was so impressive this tournament. It's overall for the United States. And they were missing Quinn Hughes, but Canada was missing Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore after the first game. There were injuries battled on both sides. Tkachuk, of course, the United States, they were battling. This was still the cream of the crop that was out there. The United States players, I felt Matthews had a good last game as well. The Tkachuks had their presence known. Gensel was dangerous this whole tournament, but impressive to watch how Pittsburgh just let him go for basically scraps, okay? I know Carolina couldn't resign him. He's in Tampa now, but my goodness, okay? We were not going to get into the Pittsburgh Penguins right now and Kyle Dubas. This was, and Jack Hughes, the kid is talented, so good, but I feel like he gets ragdolled every time he's on the ice. I remember watching a game with Toronto and New Jersey. Max Pacioretty leveled him. Every game that I watch, when I've turned on some games in New Jersey, I feel like he gets pushed around a lot. I'm not saying that he's a weak guy, but look, he's a target out there, I feel like. And I felt he couldn't stay up a couple times in the games that I watched. But jokes aside, very impressive team. And obviously Jack Hughes looked good. This whole United States team looked very, very smooth. I think that when I look at players that did not take that step, I think you can almost argue Matthews was at that point. But overall, where was that Trocheck effect that I didn't see that would have done that on New York? I also feel that Kreider, the games that he got in, obviously he only played a couple games. He didn't play the first, but this is somebody that could be that big presence, be a big effect, a grinding type line, get the job done. I really felt like kind of the bottom of the lineup for the States had more of their inconsistencies instead of the top. But again, the United States, very talented team, and their goaltending is stacked. Hellebuck played extremely well. Ottinger on the bench, even if Connor Hellebuck decided to lay an egg, Ottinger's on the bench to get the job done and step up. My goodness, it's such an impressive team and so scary. Okay. But transitioning to the game again, the beginning of the match, you have Wayne Gretzky go out there, and then you have Johnny Gaudreau jerseys being worn. Johnny Gaudreau jersey being worn by Mike Eruzione, the Miracle on Ice. The United States have Freebird as their goal song, like the World Junior team, and they listen to Dream On, Aerosmith, one of my top 3 favorite bands and artists of all time. Fun fact. Dream On at the end if they win. This was like the Miracle on Ice theme is what they were doing, was Team USA. And Mike Eruzione, I could just hear Herb Brooks, the Russell version for Miracle on Ice, hearing for calling Mike Eruzione. I play for United States of America. Look, even as a Canadian, one of the best hockey movies of all time. So that was electric to see those two guys on the ice, and you know, Matthews and Crosby exchange the flags. You just knew that the tension was there. There was a lot to this hockey game that wasn't just hockey. The puck drops from the start. I already talked about the team exchanging goals, but we go into overtime. So I'll jump into that. Overtime in this game, you just knew that every shot counted. But if Jordan Binnington didn't play how he did, and maybe played like it was any other, I'm not saying that not any other goalie couldn't do that, but the way he stepped up in the game was massive. But I will agree with one thing with the American fans. Was there some too many men missed on a Canada call? Yes. Is it debatable because they didn't touch the puck? Perhaps. Did they touch the puck? Look, it was a missed call. And there was only one power play that whole game. Canada played discipline, but Canada did struggle with those line changes. It started even from Saturday night in the first game against the States. They did get away with something in that game with the too many men. I'm telling you that. And listen, I can feel other Canadian fans saying, oh, who cares? It's true. They did get away with it, but it doesn't matter. They missed it. The game goes on. It can't let that affect you, even if you're a United States player. It doesn't get the call. You yell at the ref once, but you keep playing. And that's what they did. The game kept going on, and it was back and forth. And like I said, it doesn't matter. Canada and the States were putting out their guys, rolling their team. Bench started getting a little bit shorter. You could tell that the top guys, per se, were getting more of that ice time. But I was seeing in that game Mitch Marner buzzing, literally getting some energy, really doing well. Connor McDavid just showing impressive speed. That speed is so lethal. I thought that Crosby was going to get the golden goal, but what better than a number 97, Connor McDavid, and as we say, pass the torch. I'm not saying the C yet, but pass the torch of the golden goal, where 15 years prior, Crosby gets the golden goal on Ryan Miller in Vancouver. Fantastic. But this is not the Olympics. It is the Four Nations Faceoff. But it's our first taste of international hockey with these best on ice in over 10 years. This is great to see. In overtime, Mitch gets the puck in the corner of the boards, and his play, taking that moment, taking that patience, and threading a very nice pass that technically went through and under Austin Matthews' stick. Yes, Austin Matthews was on the ice. Marner to McDavid. McDavid, top Ched. Love that. Top Ched over Hellebuck. Golden goal. Celebration. I'm in my basement. We're celebrating down there. We're hugging. We're literally screaming at the top of our lungs. You can hear Canada, the noise volume in Canada exploded because of that goal meant so much to us in Canada to still claim being the top of the hockey world, but for everything this tournament meant in a lot of different ways outside of hockey, which maybe people may feel is absolutely absurd to say, but it is true. Connor McDavid gets the golden goal. Nathan MacKinnon gets MVP of the tournament. I don't fully agree. I feel like you should have given a little bit of extra love to Binnington there for that. But besides the point, they get the Four Nations Faceoff trophy, which may never get played again. They might be the only team to get that trophy. And guys like Connor and Marner are quick lifts and putting it away because they're waiting to lift their big one. But Crosby lifts that trophy up and screams in excitement, and that's for all of Canada. Great to see. Singing the national anthem. Overall excitement. It was great to see the win for Team Canada. And as you can tell, I am Canadian, born and raised, giving a little bit of love to the Canadians there, a little extra. But hey, I felt that was fair throughout that whole recap, talking states, Finland and Sweden. Didn't really get into both rosters of Sweden and Finland, but the games that they played were impressive, and it was great to see this on the ice. But this final game was great. The U.S. a chance. It felt like I was watching the Miracle on Ice. There was Johnny Hockey chant, like unbelievable. That was so nice the way the States did that. This tournament was what the hockey world needed. This is what we needed to enjoy and what we needed to see. And it may not have been the results for the Americans that they wanted. And obviously it was the result that I and other Canadians wanted. But this tournament was great to watch. And this stuff needs to continue. I'm not a fan of the All-Star game. I'm not saying do a Four Nations every year. I'd rather see nothing than see the All-Star game, to be honest with you. But seeing these best worlds best in their country and best in the game from their country on the ice at once and actually play competitively was what I wanted, and we got to see it, and that's what everyone wanted, and it was a hell of a time this past week plus enjoying this Four Nations. Kudos NHL again. Congratulations to Canada. Booyah one more time. Booyah a second time. Booyah a third time. We are loving it here in Canada. There's still memes going on today about everything. That was more than a hockey game, and it was great to watch. And what better than Connor McDavid, McJesus, as they like to call him, getting the golden goal. Would have been sweet if it was Crosby, not going to lie. But great to see McDavid, and it's really nice to hear Marner to McDavid. Nice little connection there, eh? It does sound nice. Marner and Matthews is a great connection too. So not saying anything there. It just sounded really nice. And again, kudos to all the jerseys. Really nice, but I think Canada, like the USA, was very neat and just very clean. Canada's, I like the vintage look. Oh, there was not one thing about that tournament that I didn't like, except the loss that Canada had, and almost Canada blowing that game against Finland. This was just so exciting to watch. And look, while I sit here, I'm 7 minutes over my time spot. I'm going to have to allocate time elsewhere. But again, Four Nations Faceoff was great to watch. Puck Drop is back tomorrow, February 22nd. The Leafs are back against Carolina. List is on. The NHL is back already. Quick turnaround for these guys. While other guys were in Mexico, Punta Cana, having a good time or with their families, they are sitting at home having a good time. These guys were in games, playing real hard games, hard to the wall, balls to the wall type hockey for the past couple games. Guys on Sweden and Finland maybe got the extra couple days rest, but US and Canada guys just going hard and just not even within a 72-hour window, less than that, to be able to enjoy their win and go back to the real world of going down now to the playoff push as that nears. And when we're back here on Top Shelf, when Brendan and Alex join me, we're going to be back into the break a little bit because we are not back on the show until March 4th after this week. So we are going to be talking of this Four Nations. We might bring it up a little bit, but I think by that time, we're going to have hockey back. It's going to settle a little bit, and we're going to start seeing a little bit of separation over the next couple of weeks when it comes to winning against with teams and the trade deadline being around the corner. Lots of things to look forward to. But again, I will say one final time, Four Nations Faceoff, NHL, baby, you did it right. That is great to see. I want to see more of this, and we are Olympics, World Cup, All-Star game, make it meaningful. I don't know. This was just amazing to see, and congratulations to Canada pulling away with that win. What do you think of this tournament? I talked about so much in this segment, tried to keep it as organized as I can and contain as much excitement, but let me know below on what you think of this tournament and what the NHL could do going forward outside of their plans with international play. What should they do instead of an all-star game? Should there even be one? Should we have something different that's a sort of classic game? I don't know. Seeing this international hockey and the way these guys play, I want to see this all the time. What a time. Such a high the Canadians are on these past couple of days, as you can see. But thank you, NHL. I mean it. Thank you very much. This was what we needed to see. Despite what the outcome would have been, I sure would have been sad if it was the other way around, but this was such terrific hockey to watch. We're going to take a breather here on the Game Sports Podcast. When we come back, I got Jordan Trudeau joining yours truly. We also got Strike Zone around the corner and little finale segment of In the Pocket. So lots to go here still in the game. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. It's Dave McCaig continuing to host you this evening. And you know what time it is? It is Chuck-a-Puck time. I don't have the puck in my hand because I'm not just going to throw it around on my floor or wall, my newly sold house. So I'm not going to
be like messing up with that. No kidding.
No, but there is the puck, the official Soo Greyhounds Chuck-a-Puck game puck. If you want to look at it, it is the Chuck-a-Puck staple right there for our Chuck-a-Puck segment. How many times can I say Chuck-a-Puck? We'll find out on this segment. And I am joined by the one, the only co-host with yours truly on Chuck-a-Puck, Jordan Trudeau. Trudes, my friend, good to see you. We had a week off. We have kind of a very unique schedule these next couple weeks just because of the way the show's lining up. Four Nations going on. The obviously spring training come underway for baseball. A lot to get onto this show, which caused delays. So we have kind of a unique schedule. So I appreciate you taking the time to always come on, and looking forward to chatting some Soo Greyhounds and OHL, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me once again. Yeah, it's been a little while. I think it's been interesting too. Like, I feel like the Greyhounds have kind of evolved a little bit since we last spoken. So it'll be interesting to kind of cover them, from today's standpoint versus back. I feel like it's a very different world today than 2 weeks ago, even though it doesn't seem like a long time. They're definitely it's the process is slow, but they're getting there. You can kind of see glimpses of they're getting there.
They're getting there. You know where I want to start? So obviously we have an agenda to follow. So you know what? We'll hold my thought. We're going to talk about the past over handful of games and upcoming games. The schedule is loaded for the Soo Greyhounds coming up. And just remind everyone on Chuck-a-Puck that we do discuss Soo Greyhounds and mostly throughout the segment, but we do veer off with OHL a conversation. But a lot of it is going to be discussion with the Soo Greyhounds, especially with our catch-up here. So obviously a little bit catered to our local, where we're from here in Sault Ste. Marie. That's where the Game Sports Podcast, powered by 91 Network, it's located. It is in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And yeah, a little bit of outside of Soo Greyhound news that we haven't touched on yet. It's a very unique circumstance, we can call it. But last few games, Connor, here we go. See, I'm already thinking I'm already in strike zone. I'm already on strike zone.
Don't even in the door.
I'm not going to go there. I almost did. We're not going to talk Blue Jays. That's the next segment, everybody. Okay. All right. So
Connor is a very handsome fellow, though. So I appreciate that.
You both are, Trudes. You both are. So we obviously have some games that we can touch up on, and there's even that high-scoring game, 8-6. What are we playing? NHL 25 on PS5? My goodness! In the recent game against, obviously, the Bulldogs. So let's talk about the give you the floor about talking the recent games that have passed and upcoming games on an absolutely busy schedule for the Greyhounds. A lot of home games on there too.
Yeah, so they came off a stretch the end of January and the beginning of February where I can't even remember the last game we covered really, but they've been on the road for a while. They've had in their last 7 games, that's been the start of their like long road trips. They have been 2-5. So I'm kind of banking. I'm starting from the last 7 because that's when Nolan Lalonde got hurt. So that's the game, the 7th game ago. Nolan Lalonde, the newly acquired goalie for Charlie Shanko, suffered an injury in warmups in North Bay. So he went down to injury. So Landon Miller was given the net. And they're 2-5 in their last 7. So obviously there's a huge playoff, or the really tight playoff race coming up now that we're going to mention in a little bit. So not quite the results that you want to see if you're intending on making the playoffs, right? That's probably not good enough to make the playoffs. But again, what we're seeing, it's the record's 2-5. The wins were solid against North Bay and Sarnia. This last 7 included outplaying a very good Barrie team on their home ice. They were winning 2-1 up until the last few minutes of the game. Boom, boom. Two goals in the back of the net. You lose 3-2, 4-2 with an empty netter. this past Sunday, like you mentioned, battled back in the third period. They were down 6-3. They battled back, tied it at 6 with 2 shorthanded goals that were 11 seconds apart. The PK has been able to score like nonstop. They're actually developing quite a solid offensive penalty kill. They've been dangerous on the penalty kill. I think
it's almost better than their power play.
It is.
It is.
It's more dangerous than their power play.
They should play 4-on-5 the entire game.
I've said it as a joke, but yeah, I think they're top of the league now in shorthanded goals, which is quite impressive. That's quite a feat. That's definitely something that teams will have to go in and look at now. And when they pre-scout the Hounds, they'll have to say, okay, you got to watch this aggressive like PK. Look at what they're doing to teams around the league. And I don't think that's there has been an element to the Greyhounds game this year that has that sort of danger to it. So like I mentioned, a lot has changed even over this past 2 weeks. There's something that is now like a part of this Greyhounds identity. Yep. They have developed and they are developing quite the good offensive penalty kill.
Yep. Teams are going to have to adjust to that. Teams have to
adjust to that, and it's hard to adjust to.
Oh, especially on a power play, because your mindset is offense and puck movement in the zone. You're tunnel visioned, and you're trying. And one thing I hate, and that's a very strong word, that I hate about power plays is teams with the breakout of going up the middle and passing it back. I cannot. I sound like an old school coach, and I'm only 33. I've coached after I played for a little bit, so I'm outside of the coaching realm. I haven't coached. I stopped when I was 22. I'm 33, so I haven't coached in 11 years. I know that seems like a lifetime. Okay, holy my good, it does. So my goodness, but anyway, I do not like skating up the puck and passing it back. I dislike it. I yell at the TV as a Leaf fan. I yell at the TV when I'm at Hound games. I look at it and say, "What the heck is?" I've never. Not a fan of it. It's worked sometimes, but I've seen it not work more than it does work. Not a fan of it. But we're not talking about power play systems. We can save that for another time.
Sometimes the opposite, but also I think it depends on the team. So
yeah, true. But you're saying it's been good change. It helped the teams have to change their mindset against the Greyhounds on their special teams because it's so strong on the PK.
And that's something that put in the heads of the other team, and I think that's definitely that's something you want to see as a Greyhound player, as a Greyhound coach. You know that's something we're making other teams in the league think about. So that's good. I thought they looked good against Saginaw at home too. They lost 8-4, but again, two empty net goals. They battled back again. I thought I think Saginaw scored probably 3 or 4 power play goals. So I thought they looked good. I don't know. I like the hockey I like the brand of hockey they're playing right now. I really do. I think they've really gotten better since the trade deadline and since Christmas. And this is with Christopher Brown, a veteran forward, out. This is with Owen Allard. You've been missing him because the poor guy's been injured the whole year. Yeah. So that's two, an 18-year-old, an overager, they're that's big losses. So they are really they're improving. It may not seem like it. It may seem slow. The process seems a bit maybe not as far along as some people want, but there are really certain things to pick out, and I'm really starting to like the game from a lot of our 07 players, which is great. Upcoming games, we got 7 games in a row at home over the next couple of weeks.
Love that homestand. That's nice. Get out and enjoy.
The next 2 are huge, absolutely huge. I won't be at the game Friday, unfortunately, but it's going to be a huge weekend for them. Guelph on Friday, Owen Sound on Sunday. Guelph is 1 point behind the Greyhounds, and Owen Sound is 3 points behind the Greyhounds for the 8th and final playoff spot in the West. So, these are the biggest games of the year coming up on home ice. You almost need 2 wins if you want to stay in the playoff race.
Yep. Need to. And that's where this is where the young guys can really take this as an experience of growth, right? We understand this is not going to be a team that's going to be taking away a Memorial Cup championship, an OHL championship. It's not going to be happening. Let's just say it how it is. And if it does happen, my goodness, big Cinderella story that would be. But getting those playoff games would be so, I think, so important for a lot of the young guys' development as we continue to trend as a organization, and we're talking Soo Greyhounds, to look at opportunity to grow. Do you want that playoff experience? Doesn't matter if it's 4 games, 5 games, or short, or they're games where you get blown out by London because it seems like London's going to be the team. They, of course, obviously this looks that way in standings. But the experience would be so critical for the young guys' development to get into the playoffs. And I think it would give a lot more optimism to the community as well to see that these young guys, despite the team not being made to win a championship, we're rebuilding. We're in a rebuilding phase. That's what this organization's in. And we've talked about this on the podcast numerous times. The window is a couple years from now. That's the window. And if we can capitalize as a community to watch some playoff hockey, but as an organization, the Greyhounds would be to get into the playoffs would be so important for them. And these are the type of games that help build that experience. The games where teams are right behind you, teams that are right in front of you, important games, despite where you think, well, they're not going to get far in the playoffs. As I said, the growth is so big. It's not like it is for NHL. It's not like it is for leagues higher. This is very good for junior hockey development. And it starts now. These critical games that are meaningful hockey games that are so big for growth for a rebuilding team. It starts on Friday when they play Guelph. And then it's obviously on Sunday for Owen Sound. Hack the game Tuesday and Wednesday, despite being a bit different opponents. It's still important. You're playing down now to those games that matter so you can get into the playoffs where anything can happen.
Yeah, and we're talking about 4 winnable games for this team. Like we've seen the way the past few weeks that they've played against Brantford and Barrie, even though those weren't wins. Okay, now you're given a chance to kind of play a team down to your caliber, like Owen Sound, Guelph, Sudbury, and North Bay. They're near the bottom 5 in their conference as well. So if I'm the coaching staff and the players, I truly believe they're going into these next 4 games being should be 4-0. It's not going to be easy, but it can be
it's a possibility, and it could
possibility. And I think they probably believe that. I would if I was in that room. Let's get them going. Let's win some games here and make it easy, make it a little easier on us the rest of the way to kind of secure a playoff spot.
It'd be nice, though, to be realistic. I'd like them, I think, for a growth opportunity, it'd be nice if they can get out of 8th. And if they can get to that 6th spot in the standings, if they can find a way to leapfrog Sarnia and Flint and get to those spots and stay in 6th and look at maybe playing Kitchener in the first round, that would be what it is right now. Still a challenging opponent. Still wouldn't be likely they move on, but that to get that motivation to go in the playoffs, a little bit of a winning streak. Hey, we were in 8th and we moved up to 6th. That confidence that can help so much with the development for a young team. I think it shouldn't just be a goal to get into the playoffs, even though that is the goal, I'm sure, overall, just to get in. But I think they should try to be realistic and reach for 6th seed and try to get over Flint and make that as a goal. So get in and make it as to try to leapfrog to get into kind of 6th in the standings to make it a little bit more of a challenge to them to try to meet, which is always big for youth to try to reach above expectations. And then that kind of sets the tone as well. So speaking of that, Trudes, obviously lots of games for individuals in the community to go out to enjoy, get out and support the Greyhounds. I'm a big advocate on enjoying a team when they're here. And despite win or lose, I do see that the Soo Greyhounds are passionate, very passionate fan base, but a lot of big games, as Trude's touched on here. And I think we should get back, obviously pack those seats, get out there and enjoy. It's already almost March. Hockey season's already almost done. That's unbelievable. Yeah. But Trudes, just given time, we have 2 more things I do want to touch on because they're very important. Because I know next week we're not going to have a segment because we don't have a show again next week. May have some clips, so people keep an eye out for that. But 2 things I want to talk about as Connor Henderson waits in the wings to do Strike Zone, which I'm sure is a segment everyone's excited to look at what we're going to talk about there, even though Trudes won't be joining for that rant. Noah, I don't know if I want to go with Cam or Noah. I'm going to let you go. You know what? You choose which one you want to go first.
Well, huge signing. I mean,
huge, and he's a big kid. Gee, big
it
kid.
is a big signing, and again, this leads me to believe that Lalonde might be out for a longer period of time.
Yep.
Like it could. No, but I mean, I don't think it's any. I don't think it's any surprise that like there's some concern about goaltending moving forward. I think that's apparent now. So honestly, all it is, yeah, let's I think it's Noah Telegar. I should have made sure of the pronunciation.
Yeah, that's what I was told too. Noah
Yeah,
Telegraph. That's what I got too.
I believe it's Telegar. But hey, he's a big kid. He has done super well for the Collingwood Blues. 938 save percentage, 21-4-1 record to go with it. 18 years old. Hey, throw another goaltender in the mix. Little positive positive competition. Like who's gonna play better? That's who's gonna get the net, right? I think.
Yep.
I mean, at this point, you got two 18-year-olds in there, right? Moving forward, if you're gonna go for Memorial Cup in the next 2 years, you need a solid goaltender. So the performance gotta be there.
And I believe he was a 2023 second round pick, I believe.
U18 draft. So
It's
like
U18 draft.
selection.
Yeah, but the U18 draft.
No, it's good. Positive competition among anybody is good. I'm assuming he'll be here for camp next year, right? Just another like somebody else to think about, keep in the back of your mind. And I'm assuming he'll finish out the year with the Greyhounds. So unless Lalonde comes back and they got to do some roster adjustment, but no, great signing, huge signing. He's open to the program. That's great. That's awesome. And
it's good. I'm a big fan of big goalies. I'm a big defense, big goalies. That's where my mindset is when I, from a fan perspective, and I think he's going to be loved. And I think I could tell you, Collingwood in that league has really evolved, and having those numbers in junior hockey, like people may look, it's just tier 2 junior or what? No, look, you're getting a lot of point blank shots, a lot of faults on the defensive side of the puck in those leagues, because those are players that are still developing as well, or maybe are a bit older and maybe 19 or 20 that are all over their hockey time and kind of just ready to just playing junior to have the name for a while. Mm-hmm. So telling you right now that this getting a 938 save percentage in those leagues are very impressive. And I think that's a good pick for the Hounds and to create that competition. And it makes it's great to have that future look bright, and that goaltending is so big, obviously, and literally a tall kid there with Noah. So fit that in there for sure. The last item we'll touch on, I know time's getting tight here.
And you know what, Landon Miller, I think like he's turned in some fantastic performances. So like once again, like development wise, we'll just see. We got to see where he goes, and we'll see what the Hounds figure out to do with him. Right?
Go with a tandem.
He's NHL drafted. He's turned in some good performances, and then other nights, it's the opposite. So, like, I mean, I don't have all the answers. I just have the facts. So, but again, Noah Telegar, always good to have. Some more guys come in, some fresh guys come in. Cam Allen.
Couple minutes for Cam Allen. Listen, what? Let's go, dude. I'm sorry. I know mistakes happen, and I've had friends make mistakes. But man, let's go.
With all of the information about it now, all of the warning sign, like it's in everything.
Availability, Uber, cab, you ride, whatever.
Like there's so much publicity now around drunk driving, impaired driving, and from a human perspective, it's crazy how much you read. Like even on Soo today, like you read a lot of like people coming in with and down with charges to this, and especially with all the education around it. So it's always tough to see that, but from a hockey standpoint, the price that the London Knights paid for this young fella. And now he may not even see the ice the rest of the year. And they're poised to go on not just an OHL championship run, but a Memorial Cup run.
Yep.
So
And that's look, you pay
that is a bummer.
You pay that much for picks. Sorry. If you pay that much for picks for a player and that happens, yeah, that is awful. That sucks. But you know what's the big thing? That's not even the highlight of the issue. Him doing that is the problem.
Yes.
Is the absolute issue out of all the available resources. And you are an NHL prospect who has been your career, okay, has potential to grow to those next steps. Will this ruin those chances? Absolutely it does. It doesn't matter. First round, first overall, doesn't matter. This is not tolerated anymore in sports because it's so heavily microscoped and watched that teams are going to address this. Now he's going to go through the justice system. He's going to go through everything. And look, he fled the scene. Drunk driving. Listen, everybody. I don't know if Cam Allen's going to get a hold of this stream somehow and go on TikTok and see clips or on our Soo Greyhound Facebook page or search his name and see that on transcribes of episodes what he did. But drinking and driving is a bonehead move. Don't do it. Just don't get behind the vehicle. Everyone's made mistakes at a young age. I'm not sitting here saying anything about me or Trudeau or anybody. I'm just saying in general, mistakes happen, but that's one mistake that you got to make sure you avoid before it even happens. You take your keys, you throw them somewhere where you don't have them, and you plan your stuff before you go there, especially before you go out. And if you're going to be someone who's under a microscope in general and the publicity and all the announcements with it, that doesn't make it any extra for you not to do it, or for you to do it if there wasn't a microscope or if there wasn't a spotlight on you. Just don't do it. It's a stupid move. You can risk your life and risk the lives of others. And you know what? If you do get behind the wheel, you face the consequences when things happen. Okay. And London is in a situation that, they paid for somebody, but this isn't London's fault. This is Cam Allen's fault, and he's got to face the consequences.
And that's part of the consequences, right? Like he's going to have legal consequences, and he's also going to have the consequences, the consequences that go with his career. Yeah. So
sadly, he could have been an NHL player. Could have been.
Well, to everybody, it's lesson to everybody, I think, again, and all the kids that are looking up to these guys. And I don't want to make excuses for him, but there's a lot of pressure on these young kids. Like, they leave their homes at 15, 16. They're going to make mistakes. That's just a fact. Yeah. I'm sure they miss their families all the time. I was just talking about this, and it, a lot of people, I don't think they understand really, if you're going to go to a Greyhound game or whatever and scream at these kids for giving the puck away or whatever. Well, the kid's 16, he probably misses his mom and dad, and he's playing away from home and he's doing his best. So they're going to make mistakes, but something like that, something big like drinking and driving, there's going to be big consequences for him legally and in the hockey world. So that's unfortunate, but we can all learn from it and just take it into account the next time you think of getting behind the wheel when you're impaired.
100%. Now, one thing I'm going to tease, Drew Bannister. We're not going to go there. Why am I saying Drew Bannister? I'm just going to leave it at that.
What do you know that
I don't know. We're going to leave. I don't know. I don't know. Apparently, you might see him in attendance. But the rumors that he might be in attendance. So if you see Drew Bannister, say hi to him. That's all. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. And if you are a follower of the Soo Greyhound Facebook page, the fan page that's ran by Peter Florio, he does a terrific job on that page. A lot of interaction on there, and obviously there's been conversation on there that makes life entertaining when I talk about the Soo Greyhounds. And Coach John Dean, if you're seeing it, that this is not anything, a call out or nothing like that.
I mean,
okay? It's not a call out. I'm not saying that. I have nothing 4 against. Nope, not throwing my hat.
Let's do it next week. Let's go there if you want. I'll give my takes.
Let's go there next week. Let's save that for next week. Trudes, we've done Chuck a Puck finally. It's been about 10 days, 14 days, almost 14 days since we've done Chuck a Puck. And again, I want to thank you for your patience these last couple of weeks. A lot's been going on my schedule with house sale, moving, and showing house, and now baby, and all the things that we're planning for. So we're getting everything done out of the way so that there's no interference with our schedule going forward. So this will be our episode this week, a little bit of an off day, an off schedule routine, but we'll be back on the week of March 3rd. So March 4th will be our next recording for Chuck a Puck, as it is will be for the Game Sports podcast in its entirety. But we hope to maybe have clips next week. That is our plan for all the big games that are going on with the Hounds. And hey, if you see Jordan and I at the games, at the rink, come say hi to us.
Say hi.
Eventually, we'll have some Game Sports podcast gear that Trudeau might be wearing, so you might be able to pinpoint them out. The smiles are coming for that. Me too. I'm excited. We're going to be getting some of that in place. Trudes, I want to say thank you, my friend, for another episode here of Chuck a Puck. It's been a good time.
Thank you. Go Hounds, as always.
Go Hounds, go for sure. And definitely make sure you check out the Soo Greyhounds Facebook page. The fan page is fantastic. And the overall Soo Greyhounds website and page as well, promoting the Greyhounds. And a lot of interaction on Soo Today and Village Media through Spaces. A lot of posts there about the Greyhounds, including from us. So check all those out. And if you're in the Sault Ste. Marie local community, if you're out from outside the Soo, who cares? Check it out still anyways. Maybe you can bring some ideas from here to your home community. Just saying. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be transitioning from hockey. We've talked hockey these last couple segments. We're jumping into baseball now. Okay, and Trudeau won't be joining for that, but trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up here on this show for baseball. Connor Henderson will be coming for Strike Zone. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. This is segment 3 of the episode you are listening to, and it is Strike Zone. Oh, we're getting close to yet another season of Strike Zone. You can smell the baseball aurora. I don't know aurora. I don't even know why I said aurora. Listen, I'm just excited about this segment, okay, because there's a lot that we are going to get into. Just the overall scent of the diamond, okay? I'll just correct myself and go with that. All right, I am going to be actually not just joined by the usual co-host with yours truly, Connor Henderson. I end up persuading Jordan Trudeau that you hear from our Chuck a Puck segment. And listen, listeners, if you tuned on to this segment, you get a surprise that he came on here if you thought that he wasn't, okay, because of what he's going to vent about, I'm sure, and because this guy knows his baseball just as much as I would say as the other guy on the other side of the camera that you see, okay? You know how I know that? I played with these two fine gentlemen, and I point with my camera because they're both to my left. I play with them in Men's League Open Fastball League here in Sault Ste. Marie, okay? The now champion 91N Pandas, but at the time, the Game Sports Show Renegades, okay? We all played together, and I've been trying to get Trudes to come back so he can come hoist the cup with us, okay? All right? But as we get near baseball season here in Sault Ste. Marie with the Pandas getting ready to try to win their 3rd out of 4th year for championship, and Hoff thinks that he's pitching this year, good joke, Hoff. We're going to be lining up to talk about MLB here, though, on this segment. I'm going to introduce the co-host. Trudes, I'll go to you first because you've already talked in the last segment. Welcome to Strike Zone for this, man. I'd love to get you on here with me and Connor more, especially when it comes to these certain topics that would allow some venting. But thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on. And, I mean, I'll have the time, and the baseball lines up nice with the Greyhounds off season. So, yeah, I love chatting baseball, too. So
yeah, you'll have some time to also come play. Yeah, for sure. I'm also joined by the normal co-host with yours truly, the Rookie of the Year. If you know, you know. I love saying that every time. Connor Henderson. Hendo, my friend. Good to see you. This feels good. This just feels right. Feels right.
It does, Dave. This is the first time we've ever brought in a third party here, and no one better than Trudes to join us here today. I'm really excited. We're going to talk about Vladdy Guerrero and the troubles with the Jays, and if we have some time at the end, we'll touch on the automated ball and strike system that they're testing out in spring training. So we've got a good show lined up for you today.
We do. And you two know each other quite well. Let's just say that.
A little bit.
A little bit. So I actually, just so we can know the time, we'll start with that automated strike zone. Okay, we're gonna go to that. Let's go to that first. Let's start there. We'll do our little tidbit topic that we call it the Timbit topic, if you will, for Canada lovers out there, for Tim Hortons. But jokes aside, Tim Hortons isn't a sponsor, but if you'd like to be, reach out. But besides that, Connor, let's start with that topic first before we go into Vlad, because I feel like Vlad's going to be the meat and potatoes, and let's make the listeners wait a little bit.
Sure. So in spring training, they're introducing a challenge system for balls and strikes. 60% of spring training games are going to test it out. The minor leagues have done this already. Basically, each team gets 2 challenges of an umpire's call on a ball or a strike. How it works, though, is only the pitcher, the catcher, or the batter can challenge the play, meaning they can't look to their dugout, to some coach on an iPad who's figuring out whether or not they should make the challenge. That, in my view, makes it more fair, because if the call is that egregious, then, certainly a batter, a pitcher, or a catcher should be able to make that challenge. Interestingly enough, though, the data shows that in the minor leagues, whether it's the pitcher or the batter or the catcher, the success rate on challenges hovers around 50%, meaning that when people make those challenges, it's not a guaranteed call that the umpires got it wrong. It's easier said than done. It also tends to occur in more higher leverage situations. So in a 3-2 count, you're like 8 or 9 times more likely to see a challenge than in an 0-0 count. I can already picture, I've had some teammates before with just terrible plate awareness, and if they start burning up the challenges on 0-0 counts where they're, I would lose my mind as a batter who was patient at the plate. Yeah. And then also in the 9th inning, you see the challenge rates tick up. I don't know what you guys think about that, but for me, I all this robot stuff makes me cringe, but I see the merit in getting the call right.
So what I'll say, because I'll go over here first. I know the way the world is with technology changing a lot. Like, heck, boys, I'm gonna be honest, I bought the Ray-Ban Metas. All right, so to translate things if I don't understand, like the way of the world is going that direction. But I do love the human element when it comes to the game. But when it comes to hockey, baseball, football, it sucks when it doesn't go your way for your team. But that's always been the human element for X amount of years, so many years. But this is the thing I like about this automated system, is that you can't look at your bench. You can't look, it's between the player, right? So if they're going to be selfish enough to call a challenge early in the game, you could just hear a coach in the background, someone like if it was an Aaron Boone, if it was a Buck Showell, I don't know, someone who is aggressive, who is very vocal, was going to be like, why are you wasting it on that? I feel like it's going to have to make batters be very strategic, not only just because of the game, but with their team. So if you're in the first inning and you see a pitch that's way outside, it's the first pitch of the game, you better not call a challenge in that first pitch of the game, because you know what? There is still 8 more innings to go after that first one's done. So you need to be strategic. And that's what I like about the challenge in general. The real challenge we have right now, where you only, you don't get that back if you don't, right? If you're
unsuccessful, yeah. If you're unsuccessful, yeah. And it works the same way for this too. Like if you're successful in your challenge, you get to keep it, but if you're unsuccessful, it's gone.
That's why I think you got to wait until about that 7th inning. That's where you got to wait and be like, okay, we have a runner on first, or runner on second, whatever, even third, whatever. You have a runner on base, runners on base, you're down by 1 or tied in that 7th inning, and you're hit. That strike strikes you out on the 2 out. It makes you go down to 3 strikes to reset the inning. Nope, challenge, right? You're going to challenge at that point, because that one more pitch could be that change in the game that gets you that single to get 2 runs in from second and third, or get the runner from first to third and the person from third home, whatever the circumstance is, and it gets that game tied or you up by 1. So that's where I think batters have to be very strategic. And there's a lot of batters that don't handle emotion very well, and there's batters that are. Like someone like Shohei, I bet you that guy doesn't challenge until the end. But someone who's very emotional, Vlad, he might be in that spur of the moment where he'd be like, no, That's just no. It's third inning, and you can see Schneider going, no, don't use it. And right, I can just see this being a mess for the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays are a mess. But we're getting to that in a sec. I got to hold that back. Trude's going to you with your opinion on it. I think it's good. I like it, but as long as players use it right and it's not a momentum killer in a game and it actually gets a call right.
Now that I actually, thanks Connor, now that I actually know like the rules and everything and how the whole thing works, I actually kind of like how it'll force the umpires a little bit to make better calls. Even just knowing the fact that like because it's always been, like you can't challenge you don't challenge the umpire whether he's right or wrong. He made his call even if it's wrong. Now they're kind of giving a little bit of power to the batter and the pitcher and the catcher, so that puts a little bit of pressure on them to actually make the calls and make the right calls.
Yep.
Not being biased or anything, not saying anybody's biased, but you know what I mean? Like
Angel Hernandez.
I feel like there's a little bit of like subconscious bias there. Like if a coach is getting on me, and the other coach isn't, who's more likely to get a call? So I kind of like that element. And just to jump on your points too, but kind of in the opposite way, how many times do you see like Connor, Dave, like a 3-2 count? I know like Connor, a 3-2 count, or even like an 0-2 count. There's 2 strikes on the batter, and it's like the strike zone just goes like
yeah, that's so true.
On a close call, and the pitcher's like bent over, and he's like, oh, and then the next pitch goes over the wall, right? So like on the pitcher's side, no, I want to challenge that. That was strike 3. And the inning's over, 2 outs, the inning's over, versus the batter gets another chance, and then one hit leads to another, right? Just from that one missed call. So I'm going to treat it like I did the pitch clock. I didn't like the pitch clock when it was first implemented, and then I actually didn't mind it by the end of the year. So hopefully this is the same.
Yeah.
Hendo, how about you? What do you think?
Honestly, I don't like it. I'm a man. I love the human element. It takes away. I like the challenge system more than a fully automated umpire, because it would completely negate the skill that comes with framing pitches as a catcher. As a batter, having plate awareness is incredibly important. Learning an umpire is incredibly important. I like all of those little intricacies and human flaws in a game. The box on the TV is one of the most murderous things that has ruined the experience of watching baseball at home. That little box in the corner is the most frustrating thing in the world. It makes sense. It makes sense to have the challenges. I don't like it. It makes sense to have the challenges. I still don't like it. You know what? That's just me. How many times have we seen a player slide into a bag and they're going like this to their bench and they're out by a mile? You know what I mean? Like I don't.
Sorry.
So there are human parts of the game for sure. Like Trudes was saying, the data supports that if it's a 3-0 count, the strike zone gets massive. Why are you as an umpire, why are you giving the benefit of the doubt to a pitcher who's fallen behind by 3 balls? If the count's 0-2, why is the strike zone suddenly shrinking? Why are you penalizing the pitcher for getting ahead? For those instances, the challenges are important. For a 3-2 count, where the difference between a walk and a strikeout can affect the outcome of a game, the challenges matter. It's a good system, and I don't like it.
It's a good system.
And and honestly, you bring up points that I didn't even think of. But like when you're watching a baseball game now, and there's a really, really nice play that just happened, like maybe a throw on the run or like a diving catch, and or a bang bang play at a bag. And you get really excited when the umpire makes a call, but then it's like, oh wait, like it's gonna get reviewed in a second. So like I remember us talking about that before too, Connor. Like that whole thing about replay, it takes away from your experience as a fan, as a player. Although in some instances, like to make the right call in a 3-2 count, in the 9th inning, like it's good that it's there, but then it gets taken advantage of. So
it's like hockey, right? Like if it takes more than 5 seconds to say if the challenge was offside or not, it should just stick with the call on the ice. Like if it's egregious, flip it. But if you need to go down to the pixel, Like, what are we doing?
Oh, they do. And they do. And they go right down to the pixel. There's a team in Toronto that are hired just to watch that every play to make sure it happens. Money talks, I tell you that much. But speaking of money talks, that's a good segue. Yeah. So comment below about the automated. Let us know what you think. We'll definitely keep an eye out, pun intended, for that as the season goes on, and we'll talk about it more on Strike Zone as we get there. But speaking of money, I don't know where to start, actually. I'm going to let Connor tee this up.
Yeah, let me tee you guys up here.
Yeah, you go where you want to go.
You guys are the Jays fans here. I'm a neutral party, all right? I'm the arbiter of ideas on this one.
You're a Tiger fan, so, a very good time to be a Tigers fan, may I add. All right,
so Vladdy's phrase that's hit the news is not close. When we look at comparators here, we see the Juan Soto contract, $765 million for 15 years. He's an outfielder. It's a more valuable position, but still, same age. The question here is what amount gets it done, number one. And number two, have the Jays failed by not coming close? Trudes, you want to start us off? Do you think that...
Trudes!
And I'll throw this out there just for a frame of reference for everybody. There's reports that the Jays offered $340 million. And Ken Rosenthal, who's a well-respected reporter in the MLB, says that he thinks the number is probably going to land somewhere closer to $500 or $600 million, because if Vladdy's sitting there going, if Soto gets 760, how come I'm getting 340 from the Jays? So, Trudes, what do you think?
Let's go, Trudes. Let's go.
That's the thing, right? And you're looking at that Juan Soto deal, and I remember the second it broke, I was like, oh, yeah, that's way too much for one player. Like, there's no way that I wouldn't have paid that either as the Jays. But now, and even after all the Dodger signings and everything, now it's like, like everybody's looking at that signing, and now like players like Vlad and like young players coming into free agency for the first time are saying, well, like, look at what he got. And are his numbers that much better than mine? They're going to find something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So that they're going to find something to drive their price up, because that just set the market. So I mean, the Jays can, whatever analytics they have, they value Vladdy at, and this is exactly what I said to Connor tonight by text. Well, not exactly, but it was the more civil part, is whatever the Jays are valuing Vladdy or even Bo at right now, it's might not be close to what Vladdy thinks that he's worth because of that Juan Soto deal, right? So, I mean, like, if you're the Jays, how bad do you want it? Like, the consequences now, he goes to free agency, and if you want him back, you're going to have to pay him a lot more than you would have had to if you signed him now. But then again, maybe they don't want him. And then my question to that would be, well, why? Like, you've developed him in your system. You need somebody to build around, especially in the AL East. And if he's going to go to Boston or New York, that's a major ouch. So I don't know what else I can say that is civil.
Yeah, no, really I hear you.
You've really contained yourself. So what is the number though, Trudes? If you're a good Shapiro or Atkins, a good version, and giving him, what are you giving him?
What did Rosenthal say? Sorry,
5? So Rosenthal figures that it's more realistic to be in the $500 to $600 million range. Now, for context, the highest first baseman contract to ever be dished out was to Albert Pujols, and that was for $254 over 10 years. Cabrera got $248 over 8. But these contracts were signed, number one, when those guys were in their early 30s, and number two, they signed them like almost 10 years ago. So yeah. Vladdy's going to shatter the first base market. A comparable I saw thrown around was Rafael Devers, who signed for $315 million. He plays third base, but he's terrible at it. Mm-hmm. Same age as Vladdy. His value comes from his bat. First base is not a premium position. Vladdy was a Gold Glover a couple years ago. It's not a premium position, but there's also the value of the icon that is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to Toronto in particular, from the development, from the history with his father. This is a homegrown guy, and he's 26. Whether it's a long-term deal, 10, 15 years, or whether it's a midterm deal, 5 or 8, he's in your window. Dave, go nuts. What do you think?
Trudes, give me your number first.
Oh, Trudes, what's your number? Sorry, apologies.
I don't have the I didn't do the research, unfortunately. Like I would like to be better researched on this topic. Like I like looking at numbers more, like because I'd like to do like what
comparables.
Okay, but those contracts that you brought up, like those are ancient, right? So
they're ancient history,
Like
I'd be shocked if it's lower than 450.
What do you want to do? Do you want to compete? Do you want to compete now? Then give them the 500. Like do it. If it doesn't work out, somebody will take them. Like so if you want to trade them, like somebody will like. I think 5 and 6 is fair. I think it is. If you want to be competitive, you need somebody to be competitive. But then again, like. I mean, I think going over 6, that's a...
And striking while the iron's hot too, right? Like now they've got to compete with 29 other teams. Mm-hmm. Not Florida, but you know what I mean? Like they've got to compete with the half the league over signing this guy. You know, if there was any sweetheart deal to be made, it was to be made before this season. Dave, what do you think?
People are going to see what pants I'm wearing, so that's fine. I'm going to make this really dramatic. So I've been saying this on this pod forever. As I say this without being visual, I'm going to take my Tavares jersey off and I'm going to throw it to the ground. Sorry, fellow Leaf fans. That's where we are as an organization. But I'm going to put this up right here, okay? I got the Vladimir Guerrero jersey, okay? That's up in the background now. It's right there. Let me just turn my camera just a tad if you can't see it that well. Now you know what's behind me because I want Vlad to be there. Okay, so that's the first statement to this vent that I'm going to get you. I've been saying, and you can go back on other episodes. What have I been saying? 3 words. I think pay the man. And I added a 4th word in there, but I'm not going to say it right now. And it's an F word and has an ing at the end of it. I said I'd keep it civil here. Pay the man. Okay, pay the man. Number 1, legacy. Sure. That's great. But 2, this is the face of your franchise and is the guy in this organization in a market that is not a coveted baseball market for some reason for players to go to. We lost out, and I say we as Blue Jay fans. I dislike saying that on podcasts, but I'll say it here because I'm speaking as a fan. Lost out on Ohtani. Lost out on Soto. Lost out on whoever else we've lost out on, Pete Alonso, whoever else that we've lost out on trying to bring here. Despite not playing for one city, you're playing for a whole country. Team players don't want to come here. After seeing what atmosphere we put in the playoffs, it's sad to see. So first off, a shame on players for not wanting to come play for this very good organization. But it's only good because of the city, not because of the fools that run it. This offseason was a joke. Yeah, Jimenez, cool. Max Scherzer's 40 years old, 41. A great signing, but cool. Don't care. What didn't get done this offseason is this man who should have been got paid not yesterday, the day before, 6 months ago, should be signed, and even sign Bo. I don't care. Keep guys here and build this team and have credibility for these guys that have been loyal to the blue. Okay, and let me tell you this. Number 1, legacy, as I said. Number 2, that outlook in the organization to be the face of the franchise, because this is what Vlad has been. And he's one of the premier first basemen in the league who's going to smash you 30-plus homers a year. Okay, and 4th, he is somebody who has been loyal overall to this organization, and we need to keep building off someone who is a face and who can be someone who wants to play here. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. should not be getting signed for less than $450 million. If I'm Shapiro and Atkins and actually have a freaking noggin, held myself there, almost said it, have a noggin, you're giving that guy not 10, you're giving him not 12, I'm giving him 15 years at $500 million, okay? Or $550. That's where I'm hovering. Take it and work out a contract to have that guy pay until he's 40. I don't care. He might not even last till he's 40. And Rogers Media was about to pay $750 for Soto, and they're about to pay $600 for Ohtani. Apparently they were doing all that, and they're not going to pay that for Vlad. Listen, this is the face of the franchise. Shapiro, Atkins, Rogers Media, I don't know who's not dishing or not getting stuff done, but what you did this offseason wasn't enough. You're not giving credit to a fan base who's wanting to see winning, has been starving for wins, and it's only been 2 exciting years in 30 years with this organization. I don't count the last 2 playoff runs. They didn't even win in those games. They choked against Seattle, and Minnesota was an embarrassment. 2015 and 2016, I was very proud to be a Blue Jays fan. Ever since I started watching as a kid, I wasn't old enough when they won in 93, okay? I was still in diapers. So every time these 90 birth years have not seen a successful year since 2015 and 16, and thank goodness for Alex Anthopoulos for giving us that treat that I think about every day. The bat flip is something that is just as high as the Raptors winning the NBA championship. And Leaf Nation, we're not even close to anything memorable, okay? So Blue Jays have a memory for me that I'll never forget. And having Vlad there is the face of the organization, and Shapiro and Atkins are a joke. They should not be running this team, and I hope this team loses 70% of their games for the first 3 months so Schneider can kick rocks and Atkins and Shapiro can kick rocks. This is not the management that's going to get it done, obviously. They say they care about winning, but I don't see that they care about winning. And it might be hard to get players here, but to have the player that's actually going to draw players here in the future and who's been loyal to your organization, pay the man. That's all I got to say. It's ridiculous, and that guy should be getting at least $550 million, 15 years. Give him a blank check. Give him that loyalty like he's been giving to us. He wants to be a Blue Jay for life. But for him to say that, no, they haven't been close, I actually believe him because I don't trust this management, and it's a joke how they're running this team. So good on Vlad for saying no if they gave you an insulting offer. Know your worth, and shame on Shapiro and Atkins in this Jays organization because it's no longer the Blue Jays. It's the Blue Jokes. There's my rant. Boom.
I love it. That's a vintage McCaig rant right there, if I've ever heard one. And I'm with you. Here's the thing. Here's the one question. If you can't re-sign Vlad, who are you going to sign in free agency? You know, we talk about them going big fish hunting.
Anthony Rendon. Frig.
You know what I mean? Like, are we shocked that they couldn't get Soto or Sasaki or Ohtani? If you can't even retain, Vlad, you can't even retain Bregman, you can't even retain Vlad,
or want to. Like that's what it seems like. And that's what's confusing to me is it the past few years, like I described to you, Connor, like this is what I feel like. And I don't, and honestly, and this is kind of sad. I still watch them. I still they're still my team, but I haven't followed them closely. Like I haven't done my research because of the way they run the organization. Like I felt turned off by the organization, but the way I feel like they've ran it is we have like, if they have a ship, okay, and they're in the ocean, and all they've done the past 4, like when they got swept in the playoffs those 2 years was, okay, we have a ship, let's stay afloat. We're duct taping the holes with the float. Here's a Brandon Belt signing. Here's a Dan Vogelbach signing. Okay, we here's like we trade. We get all these relievers that are going to bolster the bullpen. Cheap relievers help that end up just getting hurt or getting sent down. So it's like you're not actually investing into the team. You're just staying the same. Everybody else is making investments. Like Yankees are getting Judge, Red Sox are going out, they're getting a Bregman, they got Trevor Story, like they're making an investment.
They're trying.
This kind of they plug holes here and there, and then they're like, oh well, like we're still there, we're still in the wild card spot. So like the biggest thing is 2 trades that brings into the breach of trust, the lack of trust that you mentioned, Dave, that I have too. Okay, they traded Lourdes Gurriel and Gabriel Moreno. The next year, those 2 go to the World Series, the finals. What did we get? Dalton Varsho, 210 average, not much power, an elite defender, but he's basically a younger Kevin Kiermaier. Is what it is. Like I like Varsho. I like watching him play. And it's nothing against that player. It's just he was a little overvalued, I think.
Yep.
Teoscar Hernandez was traded to Seattle, eventually signs with the Dodgers, wins a World Series. What do we have? Eric Swanson. It was a 1-for-1. Spent last year injured in AAA.
And sucked.
So he hasn't helped.
Sucked.
Like, ouch. That hurts. That hurts to look at. So that is exactly why we don't trust them when they're talking about Vlad. Like, it just seems they put their stock in the wrong players. Like, Bo and Vlad weren't the problem when they lost in those 2 playoff series. Bo's the only one that could hit. Vlad had an off year 2 years ago, and then he was the only one that could hit last year. Poor Bo was hurt all of last year. So, like, the same problem just kind of keeps going.
They finally got good pitching too. Consistent pitching.
Consistent pitching.
Now they don't fill out the bat. We've always seen a batting order, but never pitching. It's never no recipe.
And okay, that's actually a start. And I thought, okay, here we go. Like they actually went out and got a good bat. But they failed to sign Vladdy, which now brings me to the point to say, well, what was the point of bringing in Santander? I would have rathered them sign Vladdy and Bo and then not sign Santander, knowing what I know now.
Yep.
At the time, I would have been like, why didn't they sign a bat? But now that, it just seems like a waste to me.
I forgot to mention Santander.
Yeah. No, and the time to pay was when Vladdy and Bo were on the cheap. This is no different than in the NFL when the quarterbacks are on their rookie deal and you can build a super team around them because your premium player is so cheap. And now they've waited so long, haven't spent. Shocker, their best players want to get paid. You've gotten Vladdy on the cheap. You've had them on the cheap for so long. They've been underpaid their entire careers, if we're speaking about actual value, and now they're trying to recoup some of that with a big time deal, and you don't want to pay. He's hitting 325 with power in an era where nobody hits above 300 anymore. It's a crime. It's a crime that he's not re-signed.
It's a crime. And Bo's probably cheapest that he'll ever be now because he was hurt last year.
He led the league in hits.
Before that.
Was it 22, 23, or 21, 22? He's had 2 years he led the league in hits.
You can get Bo 25 million.
Like, yeah, you can replace, I think you can replace Bo with a cheaper, way better defensive shortstop, and obviously maybe like 1 or 2 bats. Okay, like I get it, but still, like that's a franchise player, grew up with playing through the minors with Vlad. They want to be together. They've said that openly to the media. I don't think they would just be lying about that. So like what why? I like Bo more than Vladdy. That's been my, I don't know. I just it's the hitting for me. Like I'm
premium position too always helps. Like
it does.
But like
Gold Glover though, Vlad, right? That's a Gold Glove first baseman.
No, he's a Gold Glover. Yeah, like first baseman. It's like playing on easy mode.
And he's making those catches at third from shit throws. First swear, I'll stop there. From Bo and from Bo, and on third base. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now. Who played third last year? Sorry, I'm forgetting. Who played third?
We don't know. That's
the problem. Vlad play third sometimes. Like my goodness.
Yeah.
And I can understand moving on for Bo. I can understand that. He's my favorite player, but I get the move. But Vladdy, I just don't.
There's almost way more argument to just keeping Vlad over Bo. Not like throw position out of it. Just the last name, the jersey. I think he's like a top 15, maybe number 17 in terms of jersey sales. He's just he's an iconic player. To see him go elsewhere is like, that's a dagger to the heart.
Like I almost don't want to. I won't. I don't even know if I'll watch. I can't. This year I'll watch, but if they're gone,
Dave, if they're not in a wild card race by the deadline, you have to trade him. If you're the Jays, like you have to, you can't walk him to free agency and think that if you couldn't sign him now, you're going to sign him then. Like
that's another problem.
Nothing, because you can't trade him within the division. Then
where's he going to go?
The Mets have already overspent. The Dodgers have already overspent.
The Padres?
Well, for nothing, but for nothing, they should have traded him last deadline, at least, it.
And he's such a unicorn because he's been in the MLB since he was since he could legally drink in the United States. Like it's insane, how long of a track record he has for a 26-year-old. What are you're gonna trade him for somebody else's 24-year-old prospect? It's such a sad situation.
It makes me sad, and I don't trust the organization. And I trust Vlad. I know they're not close, and I'm sure it was a number that Jays thought was right because they're expecting a discount, and they go fly a kite because the guy deserves money and he should be getting paid. I've been saying this since the start. Pay the man. I'm not making that the title of this episode again. I've done that 5 times. Pay the man. Just pay him. Check.
Dave, I think we were talking about firing this management staff. I think the first time we ever did a strike zone together was like 7 years ago, 6 years ago.
Joe, even if you don't think that he say somebody doesn't feel like he deserves to get that much money. Okay, so let's say I don't
comment below if you don't agree with us.
For sure. Say the analytics say
that agree, but I did see some comments on the Blue Jay Facebook, because every post they make, you look at the comments and it's like, pay Vlad, fire this guy, fire Atkins, fire. Even if you said, let's say you don't believe it, somebody's still gonna pay him. Like at the end of the day, somebody's gonna swoop in and
somebody is.
Why not pay him? That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, no, somebody gave 760 to Soto. Vladdy's getting more than 340. I'm sorry.
Easily getting over 340. Easily. And you know what? Atkins, Shapiro, I cannot wait for the chance at the Rogers Center this year. Fire, Atkins. That won't be let's go blue. No, it's going to be fire Shapiro, right? They're going to start chant. You're going to be humiliated out of that stadium, and it's going to just people are going to think, oh, look at this team doing that to their management. We're over it. We're over this nonsense. Okay, this was a team that was supposed this past year was the year that thought we were going to take the leap, right? 2023, 4 and 5 were the years they're going to take the leap. There's been no leap. It's been backwards because they haven't built the team successfully around their players and the team they should have built. Jimenez, Santander, Scherzer, I'm sorry, are not the answer, especially in an AL East that's stacked. And this is an embarrassment. If you don't sign this man, it's a joke. And kick rocks. Kick rocks. That's all I got to say. I know we're overtime. That's all. We're overtime. I'm sorry. We're about 15 minutes overtime, but I hope the listeners enjoyed this rant. I love it.
This was like our support circle for Jays fans.
I liked the deal that brought in Jimenez and Sandlin, for Horowitz. I liked the deal, but again, if you're not building towards
keep filling holes. Just keep filling holes.
If you're not building around one guy, then I don't know.
Just keep patching the ship, like you said, Trudeau. That's all they're doing, patching the ship. We'll see how Scherzer does with his 10 ERA this year after 5 starts at the Rogers Center. Bold prediction. Connor, Trudes, we'll lead off into the sunset. Obviously, at the time of recording here, we got a Canada game to enjoy. Canada and the United States. It's going to be a rock one. And obviously, if you've listened to the beginning of the show, we've already watched the Canada game because of doing recordings of multiple nights. So you're going to see a different attitude throughout this entire segment. It's a treat, this episode. It's fantastic. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens as the baseball world gets into spring training mode, and that's around the corner, and you're going to see a lot more of that beautiful man, Connor Henderson, and hopefully the other beautiful man, Jordan Trudeau, as hockey ends, come on some strike zone segments. It's fun. We just got to stay within time limits, which we can't do sometimes. But it was a good topic, fellas. Connor, thanks as always, my friend.
Take care, Dave. It was fun to talk with you both.
Always. See, and Connor's loving life right now as a Tiger fan, just going, just laughing at us from afar with a team that's just having a good future and is good with their money. Okay, so Tigers fans, good for you. Okay, Blue Jays fans, we're here. But Trudes, thanks for coming on another segment here tonight, man. It's been an hour of your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I feel like you only go over with me, so I think there's a common denominator. So,
that's not true. Par sometimes.
But thanks for having me again. And yeah, double thanks for bringing me on this show. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. This has been Strike Zone. We got one more segment. It's a little shorter because it's going to be a little bit football, our last in the pocket discussion for the season as we near the end for football. But we have one more segment here on the game. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. David McCaig continuing to host you this evening. We're in the fourth segment, and I want to say thank you to Connor and to, of course, Jordan Trudeau. As you can see, we did the pre-recording before the Canada game yesterday. The beginning of this show and this segment are being recorded on February 21st. Those were on February 20th. So as you can see, different attire I have on. The background has changed a few times, but that is the joy of pre-recording. And the Game Sports Podcast, this episode being recorded outside of our normal schedule, just because of everything that's been going on in the world of sports and working around the Four Nations. We are going to be having one more break next week, just so we can kind of continue to get our schedule back on point. We will be back on March the 4th is when we'll be back with our recording, likely upload March the 5th. So make sure that you're getting caught up with all of our content and that you are interacting with us when we have the clips on there. But we'll be back to our normal scheduling on March the 5th. I'm going to be doing In the Pocket, and I'm going to be doing In the Pocket solo. So In the Pocket is sponsored by Sports Center Bar and Grill, which is located here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, the original home to the Game Sports Show at the time when we started recording here in Sault Ste. Marie and Sault, Michigan together. But this Sports Center Bar and Grill, look, if you're from outside of Sault Ste. Marie, give it a look. Or if you're ever passing by, if you want to go to a sports bar, there's a sports-like atmosphere that has the best wings in town. It has won Sault's best sports bar for 5 years in a row. Get to Sports Center Bar and Grill. Let me tell you, despite that the owner is a Habs fan, it's overall a great atmosphere inside of Sports Center and just a friendly atmosphere, great service. And again, the original home for eight years ago with the Game Sports Show. We're almost hitting over 8 years ago. We're hitting 9 as we hit the getting start of next season. So they've been a part of this family forever, and we love Sports Center Bar and Grill here on the Game. So if you're from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, go check it out. If you're from outside of Sault Ste. Marie, make sure you come to the Soo sometime to check out the Soo. But if you are and can check out the Soo, go to Sports Center. The Game Sports Podcast, getting into In the Pocket here. It is our 8th season of In the Pocket. And Justin Heichel, EJ Russell are our co-hosts here, but I will be solo. Other co-hosts on the show, we've had Matt Primo, Jamie Antonello, Dustin Grondin. Obviously, there's been an amount of co-hosts that we've had on the show. I will add, though, Jamie, Matt, and Dustin are casuals on this family still. We are still together when it comes to this podcast, but you obviously, Justin, EJ, and myself. And this football season, in my opinion, went by so fast. I feel like just yesterday we were recording the first segment, right? Now we're in February. March is literally around the corner, and we're hitting the offseason now. We're in the offseason when it comes to NFL football. And there is going to be some bonus in the pocket content as we lead up to next season when it comes to movement in the offseason, such as trades, signings. When it comes to the NFL draft, you got April 24th and the 25th and 26th, the Thursday to the Saturday. You're going to have the NFL draft, and it's in Green Bay. It's literally so close to actually here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of Sioux people that went to check out the draft. But again, in Green Bay, April 24th to 26th. So there is going to be some in the pocket content as we near for next season. But I want to give my reaction about the Super Bowl. I know it's a little bit dated. I know it's been obviously a little bit of time since the Super Bowl, which on Sunday, February the 9th. Okay, so since we're looking at February the 9th, we are going to be hitting 2 weeks this weekend. So I understand it's a little bit of a dated time. So I'm not going to go into too much duration with this, but I do want to give my reaction because we have to have our official in the pocket finale to put it off and close the door and close the chapter until next season. The Philadelphia Eagles win 40-22 in a Super Bowl that was purely dominated by the Philadelphia Eagles from start to finish. Truly, I thought I was watching Ohio State and the Oregon Ducks again. Okay, and the Chiefs are the Ducks, and the Philadelphia Eagles were Ohio State. This was a team that came into this game against Kansas, and I feel like, of course, maybe some won't agree, but I think came in as underdogs. They got a team that's looking for the first ever team to three-peat in history. Mahomes, Travis Kelce, a team that is built well all around. That's why they were successful this year. That's why they've won a couple of Super Bowls. That's why they are one of, if not the best teams in football. The Philadelphia Eagles should never be, not credited for the team that they have. Hurts. Hurts played such a tremendous game in this game. You have also Devonta Smith, who I felt did extremely well, good 69 yards and a touchdown. You also have the rushing game of Saquon Barkley that was actually shut out a little bit in that game. Only 57 yards on 25 carries. The Chiefs stopped the running game, which was something that Justin and I talked about being pivotal in their game, but it didn't stop them from being able to stop the throwing game. And the ball was thrown around so equally when it came over to Jalen Hurts and to when it came to throwing the ball from Jalen Hurts, and him rushing the ball. He rushed for 72 yards and a touchdown, Hurts. But with throwing the ball, he threw the ball equally to Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Jahan Dotson, Saquon Barkley. Almost had more reception yards. He had 40 reception yards compared to his 57 rushing. Another 17 yards, he would have equaled his rushing yards, which is wild. Touchdowns by Smith and by Brown. Obviously, you had Hurts get a touchdown. This was great output by the Eagles offense and overall O-line, and the D-line did extremely well as well. You got to give credit to this team because this was also a game where they had multiple interceptions on a quarterback that did throw a couple picks this year, a fair bit more than what we're usually used to seeing. But in a pressure situation, to see Mahomes be covered so well and to just throw the ball away the way he did, it was not like the Kansas City Chiefs. He was unable to throw the ball when he was getting into the pocket. He was backing out. When he was looking to throw the football around, he was looking for open coverage. He couldn't find it. He was scrambling in the pocket. It just wasn't Patrick Mahomes that we saw would be able to throw and get those big miraculous catches and guys finding their way open. And the Eagles did a terrific job on covering. They did not allow a run in this football game until the third quarter. They were up 23-0 into the half. And then the Chiefs get 6 points in the third quarter, 16 in the fourth. But again, those were just gimme freebie points. The Eagles had this game after pretty much the second quarter and halftime, but they solidified it in the third quarter. And it was not a close football game. So the entertainment of the game, the Eagles played extremely well. Seeing that talent really display was really great to see. But it wasn't that close back and forth football game that we were anticipating to see. And obviously, my prediction was incorrect on who was going to win the Super Bowl. Three-peat didn't happen. We didn't get a chance to see Taylor Swift on the field with Travis again, which I know a lot of people I'm sure will be upset about. But you got to see the Eagles win this year and I don't want to say defy the odds because it shouldn't be a massive surprise, but they were the underdog going into this game. The Kansas City Chiefs, I feel, could not contain Jalen Hurts and couldn't contain with the O-line blocking well for Hurts in this game and Hurts being able to distribute the football so equally. And penalties against Kansas City a little bit. We saw, I never thought I'd see some penalties thrown against Kansas City. It was a game that was well played by the Eagles. It was, I think, officiated to the best that it could be. And it was a game that was truly the better team than that game won. And every part of that game by the Eagles was done perfectly, and the Chiefs could not match it. The halftime show. Look, I know it's an unpopular opinion, and I've been able to see a fair bit of halftime shows. And my favorite one is Dr. Dre's. I loved the most recent one with Dr. Dre, but you can look at even Lady Gaga's was fantastic. Katy Perry even had a good one. Look, there's been some good rock ones in the day. There's been a variety. I will be open. I am a Kendrick Lamar fan, and I have liked and do like songs from Drake. Not going to lie either. Okay, but that halftime show, I like the Samuel Jackson being included. I liked Serena Williams being in there, just little add-ons. But it wasn't just like a flair dramatic. It was simple and effective. He was just doing his little dance that he does. He sang the song that everybody was waiting to hear, that he won a Grammy for. And this is an overall fantastic artist, is Kendrick. Very good at rapping, very good at carried on that beat, and he's very good at roasting people as well, much like Slim Shady is, and Eminem. Sorry, I should say Eminem. I don't want to say Slim Shady. This is a performance that I actually really enjoyed. Was it the best halftime show of all time? No, it wasn't. There has definitely been better that we have seen when it comes to halftime shows. But this was still not a bad halftime show. It wasn't a lay of an egg. It wasn't shit. It was great to still watch. I was entertained. The interruptions with Samuel Jackson, his songs were in there. I know maybe the older generation's like, what the heck is this guy talking about? What is he saying? Look, I understand. Kendrick Lamar, though, is a very big artist, and he's well known, and it definitely was a show that I feel was great. I've heard reaction, this was the worst. It sucked. I've heard more bad than good, but truly, it was great to watch. It was entertaining. It was simple yet effective. It wasn't too flashy, but it was still good, and it was still enjoyable. Definitely would give it an above 5 out of 10. I will give the Super Bowl halftime show this year I'm really hovering between 6 and 7 because I do enjoy the artist. I will say a 7. I will go a 7, and that's a gracious 7. I'm really hovering between that 6 and 7. I will say 7 because I do enjoy his music. I do like his performance in terms of keeping it simple, the cameos, and that it wasn't too over the top or too less. And you know what? When he played Not Like Us, it was an absolute bop, and the stadium was going nuts. Overall, 7 out of 10, in my opinion. But that is a very, very gracious 7 out of 10. It's really hard to go above 6. I will be transparent when I'm comparing it to other shows that I've watched. 7 out of 10 for the couple times I've already said it. Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl over the Kansas City Chiefs, spoiling the three-peat for the Chiefs. Now the Chiefs have given, apparently, Travis Kelce a retirement deadline. We will see what happens there. Travis Kelce is not done. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to give a prediction right now. Travis Kelce will be coming back one more season, one more run, just like his brother was thinking about doing it. Then, when he's done this one season, and he's probably going to announce an engagement during this season, he'll go off in the sunset, marry Taylor Swift, and have Taylor Swift babies. So, one more year of Travis Kelce. And for everyone who's wondering when they could stop seeing Taylor Swift at games, look, all she's doing there is watching Travis. Nope. She's just watching Travis when she is there. She's not wanting all this media attention. Truly, look, she's not like that. She is actually a celebrity that does very good things in the world, gives money, and is very warm-hearted, very respectful, and she doesn't care about being in the spotlight of these games. But I'll tell you, the NFL loves that she's there because they're making bank with her being there. But all she's doing is just watching the game, folks. Okay, so I still can't believe the comments about who cares. Look, media is going to go to this stuff. They are going to go to Taylor Swift. They're going to go to the story because they know people are going to click it because she is the most influential artist and probably noticeable figure in the world right now. Okay, so look, that's the way media has always been. It's not like the Game Sports Podcast where I'm giving you real content and not trying to get your extra clickbaits, or I'm just trying to interact with you and be true to you and give you the pure, as I hit my microphone purely, give you the pure content. Taylor Swift is a pure individual, all right? And I'm not comparing my podcast to Taylor Swift either, so don't comment anything there. Travis Kelce, that was my point of this conversation. So let's go back on track. Travis Kelce will not retire. One more year of Travis Kelce to go for trying to win one more Super Bowl. And if he comes back and Kansas makes a couple changes, they could be right back here next season in the Super Bowl. Philadelphia Eagles again getting the W 40-22. The NFL draft again April 24th to April 26th in Green Bay. And the offseason's already underway with some movements, some rumors, veterans getting cut. Aaron Rodgers is not getting brought back by the Jets. Where is he going to go? That's where I'm going to end this segment and go into and close the chapter on season 8 of In the Pocket. I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers will not retire. And I have a funny inkling that it's not going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers and I hope the Steelers stay away from Aaron Rodgers. A weird thing tells me that Aaron Rodgers is going to sign in Las Vegas. Something tells me that that is where he's going to go. I just got a feeling, and I see him signing in Las Vegas. Probably a very far-fetched one, but could be wrong. Let us know what you think below, where you think Aaron Rodgers is going to play, or is he going to end up retiring? Cardinals, are they going to be active this year? We're reading a lot about the Cardinals being very active in free agency. We also look at as the Jaguars get the new GM, James Gladstone. How active is he going to be, as they had a season that was an absolute lay of an egg? I'm excited to see this offseason. I think there's going to be some moves and some very big surprise. Myles Garrett, will he get traded like we talked about in our previous In the Pocket segment? So much to talk about as the offseason nears, and we will be having In the Pocket bonus segments as we near and go through the spring and summer leading up to next season. But again, Aaron Rodgers, where does he go? What did you think of the Super Bowl, and what did you think about the Super Bowl halftime show? To give you my final ratings, 7 out of 10 for the halftime show, Las Vegas for Aaron Rodgers. And ultimately, what I think about the Super Bowl, I'll give the Super Bowl a 5 out of 10. Didn't live up to the hype. It was still a good game. It was just really enjoyable to watch the Philadelphia Eagles play that talented of a football game. It was really enjoyable to really see a team come together in all aspects of the game. And it was still exciting because it's still the Super Bowl. So it's a very gracious 5, just like my gracious 7 for the halftime show. This has been In the Pocket, Season 8. On behalf of the Game Sports Podcasts, co-hosts Within the Pocket, EJ Russell and Justin Heiko, and of course myself. Thank you for tuning into another season of In the Pocket. We will be back throughout the summer with bonus segments, as I mentioned, and we'll be excited to bring you Season 9 next year with myself, Justin, and EJ for the next season of In the Pocket. It'll be a lot of new news to discuss on top of this bonus stuff that we bring throughout the summer. It'd be great to see what the next season brings, and in particular with the NCAA season, and we will also see what our involvement is in local football. Just a little bit of a teaser for you. On behalf of the Game Sports Podcast as well as Justin, as well as Connor Henderson and Jordan Trudeau for our Strike Zone segment, and from yours truly, I want to say thank you for you, the viewers, tuning into. If you're viewing, listening, wherever you are, 91 Network, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, wherever you are, do not hesitate to hit like, follow, so you don't miss any content from the game, as well as Spaces through Village Media and Soo Today. You can also check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, where you can catch all of our clips at the Game Sports Podcast. Please interact below as well. We'd love to have that. We get a lot of interaction on social medias, more so than YouTube. So don't hesitate to be more active on YouTube. Okay, we love to see the enjoyment, even if it's a comment about you liking one of our hats. Yes, that has been a thing. This has been a very action-packed segment. Even though we did split recordings over 2 days, I am exhausted, not just because of work, but with all the talking we've done on this episode. We appreciate your patience with our schedule as well. And a reminder, before I get to my closing, we will not have a show this week. So for the week of February 24th, there will not be an episode of the Game Sports Podcast. We will be back on March the 5th is where we'll upload our show from March the 4th when we do our pre-recording. We will try to do uploads and clips, bonus clips for you to interact on, so you can keep in touch with us while we are in between recordings. But just as a reminder, we will be back on March the 5th. On behalf of everyone here on the game again, I'm here to remind you, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.